All right, here we go. Here with Matt Grevers. How are you, mate?
Good, Brett. How are you?
I'm really good.
Good.
Thanks for doing this, man. It's been a while coming, but I'm glad we could do this.
Yeah, me too. No, it's back in the swimming world is always great for me. I love talking swimming.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're universally one of the most liked people in swimming. I mean, everyone I talk to, and I mention your name, it was like, "Oh, he's a nice guy." Why are you such a nice guy, man?
uh that's a good I try to be. I don't think I naturally am. I was thinking about my career before this in preparation for this interview, and
Mm.
I think I feel bad for some coaches that had me at certain times in my life. Just because I didn't know how to keep the inner voice and the outer, what is actually saying, separate. And I think people might think I'm a nice guy because I filter myself in a good way. I genuinely want what's best for most people, I think, but I think most people are like that anyway. But I think the difference is maybe was good at getting an early filter. I don't know though.
You want to make some reparations here? You want to make some confessions to
Yeah,
any coach?
Bob Groseth, man. I felt bad in my college years. I think I gave that guy some extra gray hairs. But no, he was awesome. He was great. That's who mainly I think of.
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of that, I mean, there's a question that pops up there for me as well is like, why did you end up choosing Northwestern for somebody that is predominantly, as talented as you would say, and as big as you, and kind of like, and had the career that you had. Northwestern doesn't seem like the obvious choice up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Growing up in the Chicago area, Northwestern was very prestigious, and
Mhm.
one of my high school captains for my high school team swam there. So I'd visit him and then see the team and get to know the campus. And yeah, actually, I was hanging out with the swim team long before even recruiting trips, just to
Mm.
hang out with him. But and Sergio Lopez was there my freshman year and recruited me, and he was telling me I was going to be the best, and I was believing what Sergio was saying. So he really was a huge reason why I wanted to go to Northwestern. He kind of appealed to my ego of, hey, you can make a huge change here. Do you want to be the big fish? You're going to be a big fish, and you might make some lasting changes to this program. And that appealed to me. Like I said,
Mm.
in my head, I wanted to dominate the world. I might not have said all that out loud too often, but Sergio knew how to speak to me and got me excited to join that program and change not only the program but try to be my best self as a swimmer.
Really, that's actually fascinating, and I'm going to go to full screen here in a second, so don't freak out. I forgot to tell you that early in the podcast, but whenever you talk, I'll go to the full screen. But I did want to say it's unusual for somebody to admit they wanted to dominate the world at such a young stage of their career. Maybe as the career goes on, but like even before you went to college, you knew kind of you had this plan and this path that you wanted to be the world's best swimmer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was 10 years old, I set a national record in the 50 backstroke, and it was a life altering moment. Parents are just talking to each other, gossiping, kids are running around, playing tag, eating candy. But when the announcer said I broke the national record, everyone stopped what they're doing. They paused and they clapped. And like here I
Mm.
was 10 years old, and I had the power to make parents stand up. I had the power to make kids watch and like watch the pool. And I remember running to my mom. I was like, Mom, that felt so good. Like, what's the largest stage I can do that at? And she said, well, that's called the Olympics. So without really knowing what I was saying at that time when I was 10, a little bit, I said, well, I want to win the Olympics. And saying that out loud held me accountable to it for all those years until 17 years later I was able to do it individually. And I really did. I thought I had all the gifts to make it happen, and it was kind of almost an obligation, um, yeah, to just be the best I could be. And so in my mind, I always thought I had that possibility. I definitely strayed from the path, no doubt. Like I wasn't always full steam ahead, but I really did have, and I just my best races were when I thought I could just eat people up. Like, I wanted to get behind on relays. I wanted
Mm.
to show how much I could catch up to someone. And then you wouldn't say it out loud again, but in your head, you're like, yeah, like, let's show it. And I think I was, yeah. I mean, it comes out every now and then. My friends that know me really well made it their life objective to keep my head grounded, which was
But
good.
it is interesting that you said 17 years later, you're talking about yourself as a 10-year-old. And a lot of times this day and age, we see parents who are pushing their kids to become the best they can be and maybe go to the Olympics and become Olympic champions. And you're talking about a 17-year process from that moment where you had your first vision, your first dream, your first realization. It's a massive amount of time and work that you put in for that, right?
Massive. And not just me, like everyone that supported me to that. My parents knew that was a goal, and they helped me realize it when I didn't want to. Like 10 years old, you don't know what you're really saying. So when I wanted to quit, which I think almost every kid wants to quit at some point, or not go to practice, they
Mhm.
really forcefully encouraged me to commit. And man, I'm so thankful now that they didn't let a 10-year-old make this silly decision that, playing video games or eating candy or going to sleepovers was more important than my dream. And so,
Mm.
yeah, like 17 years, I could not have done it myself at all. I needed my parents, my siblings, teammates, coaches, friends, all kind of helping me and motivating me. And I think that's why it's so good to say that goal, like say it out loud, is just the accountability part. Sure, there's help, there's motivation, but just knowing you said it out loud,
Mm.
they don't even need to do anything. You just know, like, oh, they know that I'm trying to do this, and they're probably judging this action, and maybe they're not, but that's how I was able to stay on track for that long, or at least somewhat on track. Is a huge support system.
Mm.
That Yeah, I mean, yeah, even when you're 12, 14, 16, 18, I just talked about how I want to apologize to Bob Grosseth when I was in my 20s. Like, you just need other people to help you make the right decisions.
Yeah, no doubt. And you did surround yourself with good people. Luckily, you made some good decisions by putting those people around you, Sergio and Bob and people like that, and your teammates at Northwestern. But I'm imagining. I mean, you're what 6'8", aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm imagining a 6'6", 10-year-old Matt Grevers. Am I wrong there? How big were you at 10?
Yeah, I was bigger, but not huge. In my freshman year in high school, I was 6 foot,
Okay.
so that's not that big.
Mm, mm,
My sophomore year in high school, I was like 6'5", 6'6". So that was a painful
mm,
summer of growth, literally painful with shin splints. But no, I wasn't that big. I wanted it. I think that's what young athletes, the difference between someone that's way better or not is wanting it, what they're willing to do for it. And
right.
they don't understand pain tolerance maybe that well, but they're getting there. And I was willing to hurt, and I was willing to risk it when I was very young. When even 8, I wanted to be as fast as my brother and sisters, and they're much older, and that was a huge thing for me. Just wanting to play pool games with them, like shark and minnows, and wanting to be the best. I'd hold my breath forever. Like they would have to really drag me up, just because I wanted to win everything. And I think I had that kind of little gift as a young guy. I wasn't necessarily size yet. Size
Mm.
definitely helped me, but not at a young age.
It's interesting, hey, because that seems more innate, right? That you know, you're in an environment, right? You put yourself in an environment, but it just seems like you had this innate want and desire to compete. That can't be taught for people like you who end up becoming Olympic champions. It's that separating factor, isn't it? Really?
I think so. And I think that's a lot of those competitors like sports like swimming, where you're not losing friends when you're
Mm,
super aggressive. Have teammates that you're yelling at as often. Obviously, it can be a team sport in a practice setting where you're encouraging, motivating, challenging each other. But when you're behind the blocks and you perform, I love swimming that it was up to me how that outcome happened. When I was on the blocks, it wasn't up to someone knowing the play or if they put in the work, whatever. There's no doubts. The confidence on the block was full because it was up to you. And I have tried other sports, even kind of my retired years here. I've been playing some pickleball, and even that's like, it's emotionally draining for me. Just the dynamic of partners and competitors, and the social aspect's fun, but I'm just exhausted after, not physically, but mentally. And I was like, man, I miss swimming. I loved that you could just, I don't know, you could just swim and you could just focus on every little aspect of your stroke, be so zoned in that time flies. But it was, yeah, it was magical, to swim. And I think those competitive people, swimming's a great sport for them, especially ones that might yell at their teammates. You go to swimming, go to track.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Tell me more about your collegiate experience. Then you had a couple of guys around you. I remember at one stage you guys had a killer relay at Northwestern. Tell me about your collegiate experience there.
yeah, a freshman year. Yeah, I think I had perfect attendance. I was a good boy, and we swam really well. We had great leaders and captains that year, and then it was kind of like the national junior team trip, but it wasn't called that at the point. It was in Australia, and it was in the Sydney pool. In 2003, I swam with Kyle Buboltz. He was a year younger than me, and he's like, "Hey, I think you're being recruited by Northwestern. You should go. I want to go there too." I was like, "All right, well, if I go, you got to go." And obviously, that didn't have that wasn't binding or the reasons either of us went, but I recruited him super hard after I was there, and so we got Kyle, and Mike Alexandrov was there my freshman year, and then we had a good medley relay with Kyle as a butterflyer, Mike as a breaststroker. He set the American record during the college years. I was okay, but I wasn't really. There were more impressive splits than I was in college. Watching some of those videos, man, my backstroke start was brutal. It needed the wedge, didn't have it yet. And then we just needed a freestyler. And if you probably remember 2005, I think you were kind of in it. 2006, where we were ahead, beating everyone in our freestylers. Just didn't really have the talent yet. And then my senior year in 2007, we won, and that was a goal since my sophomore year, was to win. Actually, even my freshman year, I was talking to Buboltz about it before he was even a Northwestern commit, before he committed. So to be able to win that, that felt awesome. I think we were jacked up, and it was a great team. Bob did a really, really great job with us, because we had some, he just had to deal with egos, I think. As college guys, I think that it's that happens. But that was great.
Yeah. College coaches don't get enough credit sometimes for the management of the athletes. It's not so much the getting them to swim fast. And I talked to Todd DeSorbo about this. A podcast came out today, actually, and he was talking about just the management of high level athletes, and the different personalities and egos, and just the balancing act of, and even when you got a great team, of just getting everybody to click at the same time collectively, and a lot of them are competing against each other. They could be teammates, but they could be rivals as well. So it's like just the management of that. Coaches don't get enough credit for that.
Absolutely. Well, and just how do you communicate with each person? I know I'm skipping ahead here, but like Rick Demont ended up being able to communicate with me better than anyone. And I'm not just saying as a swim coach, as a person, just our language meshed. So we didn't even have to say much at the end. He just kind of be like, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you want this." And it was that was magic. So I think, yes, managing and then communicating with so many different types of people. And if you're trying to present an idea or a drill or what you want out of a set to 15, sometimes 60 people, man, that's impressive. And some coaches can do that really well. And that's a skill and value that's super up there.
What year did you end up graduating from Northwestern?
07.
07. Okay. Yeah. So that was your final year. We had that big win. And then we're obviously leading into 08. And we're actually leading into a period of your life where you have this incredible career as well. Like you have this college experience and you do well, but my God, after you leave college, you become a different human and go on to finally, fulfill that destiny of winning world championships, Olympic games, things like that. So what was the shift then? How did you know that you needed to make that shift? What was it? What was the big turning point?
Yeah, there's so many. I don't know what was the biggest shift really or the biggest thing that got me to get a lot faster, but I'll try to present most of them. One was definitely my focus. I
Mm-hmm.
stopped being distracted by as much social aspects. I stopped being distracted by school. I wasn't taking classes, so I was just swimming, sleeping, eating, and really enjoying everything I did. So just having that focus just on swimming for me, that helped. That's what I know.
Right.
Some people need to stay busy. I needed just swimming. That was the best for my mind because I was a very mindful swimmer, and that's the next thing is being learning how to use my mind with every stroke. I grew up with a kind of more distance program. I'm talking like 8 to 14 was just yards, and you kind of learn to go somewhere else with your mind, not swimming. You think about fantasy books, girls, I don't know, school issues. You're not thinking about swimming. And then my high school coach, Lee Maurer, who's at USC now, and Eric Maurer, her husband, was my volunteer coach. They started incorporating drills into my stroke, started to get me more mindful and try to find faster ways through the water. And then a little bit of that at Northwestern. We're more about we sharpened up, not so much with drills, but we swam a lot, but we didn't I didn't get super deep in the water where I was developing completely the wrong muscle groups
Right.
or stroke. And then with Rick Demont, and I swam with Frank's group too at first, but with Rick, I became a super mindful swimmer. Sorry if that noise got you.
That's all right.
A super mindful swimmer, and I was just exhausted. So I have this hyper focus on my swimming, and then I start learning to use my brain nonstop. Like every stroke, I'm feeling where the water's different, how I'm connected, where leverage points are, where gliding is, and deep water. He was teaching me deep water, and it's good I didn't have classes because I had to nap like nonstop. And I started swimming really slow when I first got to Arizona. When I was doing with the sprint group, we kind of were a whole group together, and that was kind of what I was used to. And then when I got to go straight to the sprint group for a while, that whole, like I wasn't developing those muscles deep water. So I could barely do like 25s on my lats, like being on fire. I wasn't really engaging my biceps that much. Definitely not the top of my stroke. So Rocket through drills kind of told a story through a drill progression that like, again, the communication just made so much sense to me. And he didn't even have to explain why we were doing a drill. I knew it. I could tell what he was trying. He'd see something in someone's stroke, maybe not me specifically, but someone in the group that needed to work on something, and he'd have a drill for it. So we did 12 o'clock drill in developing the straight arm, but what wasn't for the recovery aspect. It was for getting that arm forward and deep on the catch. And all of a sudden, I mean, like I said, I was tired. I started out slow, but then it started clicking, and my freestyle got better and better. And then I learned how to swim kind of a leveraged backstroke. Rick, at one point, he just called it the canoe. And whenever I got, 2 arms and legs, not enough of a connected unit, he'd be like, find the canoe. And I would find the canoe, just being connected everywhere and using my body. So Rick, that communication was maybe what I think is huge, but just again, the focus on nutrition and sleep and just swimming and not having other distractions for me was really important.
Yeah, it's funny. You just talking about Rick Demont there. I just think Rick is one of the all-time greats, and he doesn't get enough credit for the impact that he's had on sprinting and speed development. I think the people on the inside, people who know, but man, publicly, he should be revered as one of the greats of all time, just in terms of how he's impacted the world of swimming, because ultimately Rick is an artist, and Rick's a master of getting you to think and feel. And you're right, like swimming, we didn't do that 20, 30 years ago. Like that's not how we swam. We swam for function. You know, we swam to build a system. We swam to kind of make an interval and hold a pace and, you know, hit a color, you know, like this is the way swimming was taught and trained and coached. And Rick comes in and completely flips it on the head, makes it an art form, and talks about, you know, this interaction between the mind and the body and feel for the water and just the interpretation of that. And it becomes less about the amount of yardage you're doing and more about the quality of the work. And so in terms of quality over quantity, Rick to me is kind of like a godfather of this concept, you know?
Absolutely. No, it was awesome. We'd ask him all the time for yardage. He's like, I don't know, like go add it up. he a lot of times he might have had an idea of what we're going to do in practice, or I know he did, but he was always adjusting. And
Right.
what his magic was when I was first there, when he was an assistant coach, was he was able to kind of specify a specific set for each individual. So we're sprint specific. Then even within that, like Laura Jackson was doing, let's say there are 8 efforts, she's doing 25. So 25 fast, 25 easy. And Schoeman's doing every other one fast. And since I had more of a distance background, I do 850 fast. Like he just was trying to keep everyone.
Yeah.
And I was able to hold pretty fast, strong water at that point that I'm specifically talking about. But that was amazing that he saw like Lyndon Ferns needed more rest and Reich Neathley needed less and Schoeman needed more and LJ just needed to work on top end speed. It was all the same thing. We're kind of going together. You can kind of race people when you wanted to, but really he was an artist and everyone had a different stroke and he was painting them all differently and took incredible amounts of energy, but I think he loved it, so it was worth it. But I just seeing that much investment into each athlete, I think we could feel that, and you want to honor that effort with your effort, so it pushes you even harder.
Yeah. Now going over your career just quickly, I was glancing at it earlier. I mean, you make the Olympic team in 08 and has some success by swimming on some morning relays, but it wasn't really until a few years later where you really start to take off and click. And then obviously in 12, you go on to win Olympic gold in the 100 back and have almost like a dominating win. And was that in 12, was that the best swim of your career, like the fastest time?
12 trials was
12 trials.
52:08.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not far off at the games either, right? 52:1.
No, I think 52:1. Yeah.
Right.
I have thought about that. I think one of the best swims of my career is actually a relay split in Manchester, dual in the pool, 400 free. I did a 44.6 100 freestyle short course meters relay split. And I was pretty excited. I was talking trash to Nathan about outsplitting him, and he was just kind of coming to his own then too. And that was one of those swims that you didn't expect and went kind of great. But I 2010.
So I do have a question in regards to that then. So like I'm looking at 08 as kind of the suit era, 09 as a suit era, but then 12 they disappear. And one of the issues I had when the suits disappeared is anyone that swam in a suit had a real problem now then figuring out how to swim faster. All of a sudden they were swimming these times and it was like you couldn't get it close to that, you know, for a year or two. And it was like this mental mess up where you just like, what happened, right? They stripped something away from you. You seem to have elevated during that period. So what I'm trying to get to is like, how did you have these suits and then swim faster within a couple of years, you know?
Yeah, I actually never got into the full body for backstroke. I did legs only.
Okay.
I was kind of led by Pearsall a little bit. He just wanted freedom in his stroke. Just didn't want restriction on the core usage and the twisting because we both had a lot of hip movement, kind of a hip-driven stroke. So it wasn't a huge transition, but man, the legs too, it just didn't hurt as bad when you swam. Your legs could float, and that compression really made them not hurt as bad. But after my butterfly, I was okay butterflyer in a full body suit. I was definitely a way better freestyler in a full body suit. But my backstroke, after the suits were gone, like 09 wasn't great, and then 10, I actually had a hard year, but we kind of worked on how to adapt from the suits specifically. We call Rocky used to say we're building our J kid, and what he would do core exercises, just planks, tons of planks, and just really work on that core engagement and getting our body high in the water. Yeah, as light and high in the water as possible, trying to mimic body lines of a suit. So I know he was very specific in trying to keep that. He went in and backstroked my thighs up. And what that was doing, keeping my thighs high up at water level, would mean your feet are kicking you forward, not just up and down, but the higher your thighs are, the more you can kind of push your body forward. And I think that was maybe from a suit's idea of, okay, we're getting this buoyancy, obviously less friction, more compression, all these things. How can we put that into our strokes without the actual suit? And so we're finding body lines. And I think Rick Demont was pretty focused on that after the suit era. So that was good. It helped me. I became really core focused in my swimming, core driven with my hips, early hips, but the early hips allowed for more leverage with my core and body. And so I really became very leg driven swimmer into core driven leverage.
That's interesting.
And that was
like
just
that.
his vision. Yeah.
I like that talk. One of the things, we do now is we try and teach, and people ask us questions all the time. So I get questions on backstroke, and backstroke's not my number one natural go-to, for understanding and feeling. So while I've got one of the greatest of all time, I'm going to dig into you a little bit. So in terms of just body position and head position, I think too, like what's the deal with head position in backstroke? In freestyle, we always talk about it kind of being flat and cutting, the water should cut you right in the middle. Your eyes should be down. Backstroke is slightly different, is it?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different head positions. Ryusuke Irie had such a still head, but it was so far forward. It was really high in the water. But what he was doing, I think more than head, it's your back. You want a bow of a boat. People like Missy Franklin, not to say she swam amazing, but she was a barge. And she had water going over her face. If you watch the videos, there's water all over her face, and it's a lot of pressure on your shoulders because you're not spinning into it. You're flat out. Where if you're rotating more, you're obviously in a stronger shoulder position. So I think your head position needs to be somewhere up where you're still having the curve of your back being able to hold you up. And I think like Ryan Murphy's really good at that, having that curve. Head position, I think back is when your legs are tired and you want to float them. In a 200, I think looking a little more back, kind of that downhill idea. You're pushing water more efficiently with your legs. You're bringing that body position or at least leg position up. And if you want deeper water, getting that kick like a motorboat, you look down a little bit. And the biggest part about looking down is it helps you see the lane lines. So I think for a 50, you don't want to hit a lane line more than anything. And your legs, you can afford them to get tired, so you can get a little deeper. So I think a head position a little bit further down so you can see where you are spotting in the lane more, but also motorboat just gets that kick a little deeper. You still need to have your core in a certain way so you're not swimming uphill. You want to still have that being able to throw your arms to get the leverage with your core with your throw, and that kind of, it's hard to do when you're too tied up, but you do want to kind of lean back but still have those shoulders, I think, a little bit rounded. And that's, again, stronger shoulder position. Water's not going over your face as much in shoulders. I think straight up neutrals is probably the easiest answer to head position. But I think it's more than just that. It's where it's sitting, forward, back. Like I said, Irie, beautiful, beautiful backstroke, had his head really high up. And it kind of, I don't know, created space for his shoulders. And the guy just was so high in the water. It was really cool to watch. And then you have other guys that are just power. Like even Florent Manadou, he broke the world record short course 50 backstroke. The guy, he just was deep in the water. His head kind of looking down.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Very very good description there. Now, in terms of catch, in freestyle, we talk about high elbow, more so with kind of 200 and up. You slide in, you get that high elbow, you catch, you pull in here. Sprint has gone into more of an open stroke or even a straight arm stroke, and then coming over the top and like fingertips first and digging straight down and getting deep water. You talked about deep water. Were you referring to deep water in backstroke? Is there something that's going on that's slightly different there?
Absolutely. So when I was watching just 50 backstrokers versus 200 backstrokers, when I was trying to get more speed, especially when 50s were at Worlds, I was like, man, I got to try to figure this out. I don't really do any specific training for it. And it showed. I never did too well. But what you were just talking in freestyle, I think that's the easiest way to think of catch for backstroke, when you kind of had that the dry armpits thing, right? It's kind of you're leveraged out, you're over the barrel. Backstroke, you're skipping. You don't want to be so extended that you have to waste all this time getting back into a powerful, full engaged leverage position. Like, I know that freestyle, you can probably get more extension and start that initiation with your scaps, and then getting bicep instead of just lat swimmers. In freestyle, you see a lot of lat only swimmers not engaging the rest of their arm. Backstroke, I think, is very similar, kind of the dry armpit, is that you want to have your anchor already set. When you come in, anchor, if you have your bicep engaged, that engages your shoulder, your pecs, and that holds the leverage where now I'm just turning. I'm not even using my arm pulling through the water. I'm just using core muscles. And I think that's similar to freestyle, is how can you move through the water, sharing the load with all your body parts, all the systems, and energy. And backstroke, I think, that's how I thought of it, is that was finding my canoe with Rocket, was placing it. It was just now an oar. I'm not actually, my arms never got tired because I'm just setting it. When I think depth, faster, I would get my shoulder in deeper, and that's how my hand got in deeper. But really is always kind of the same. I didn't move it like this. I moved my shoulders to get the depth. And then the shoulders would then, that deeper water would have more leverage to pull out and just stronger. So it's a lot more core. And that's what's cooked first usually on me, is my legs, then my core. And if my core is first, that means I had a great race. That means I probably swam it right.
I love that, man, because so often I see these young kids or even older athletes who don't fully understand swimming technique, and they're doing arms and they're doing legs, but there's nothing going on in the middle. There's no connection between the two, and there's not any leverage, and they're not this cross connection. And everything that you talked about is like a total body movement where everything works together and connects. And it's kind of like an energy conservation too, because you're not just ripping that water now, you're just anchoring and just pulling and sliding your body past it, right?
Absolutely. And I think I never figured out how to transfer that into full speed. I never had great top end speed. I think I became efficient. And that's why I could do, even with minimal training, hundreds at the end, or even 200s. I wasn't training 200s at all in 2015, dual in the pool, 2 backstroke. I think I went a 148 high or something like that. Negative split it, or I think my last 50 was my fastest 50 by far. And it was just because it was efficiency. There was very, very little 200 training, none actually. And I don't even know why I got the slot, but I was like, yeah, I'll do 200 back. And it ended up being great just because I learned how to swim it efficiently. And I think right now I could probably do an okay 100 backstroke without really any training, just because I figured out how to share the load through those. And I don't know if that transfers that well into short course swimming. There's so many walls that you reset on, but yeah, maybe it does to a certain extent. Yeah.
I've been pushing hard, clearly, on this idea of sprint revolution here, mate. It is. It's been well received, especially from people who, very knowledgeable like you, and have gone through, kind of this whole gamut of training from the time they started to the time they ended, So, but I guess I don't want to beat it to death, but in terms of your perspective, like, what could we do better from what you learned at the end of your career to how you could apply that maybe earlier on? Because the idea still is that you have to have this massive base in order to become Matt Grevers, right? And I disagree with that. So, like, what do you think about that concept?
I think the base is just from my time in the water. I think just being in the water, feeling your body position,
Yeah.
feeling different possibilities of the stroke has its advantage. Now doing yards, I don't think, I don't know where the research is on that. I don't believe in that either. I don't think that developing certain muscles that you don't use in a race has an advantage. I don't think having to repair certain muscles using the proteins to develop or even add weight to the wrong muscle groups, doing inefficient um, aerobic stroke transfers to an anaerobic
Mm,
metabolic system that you're using in racing. I think if I could do it differently, I would just develop the system I'm using in racing.
hmm.
I don't, I still, I have a hard time with even lifting in the weight room muscles that you're not using. Because again, your body's then repairing and using its energy to develop these muscles that, that aren't making you move faster in what you're trying to do.
Right.
So I think just more focus, and I don't know if it's for everyone. Like I think as a college coach, you have way more insight than I do on how to coach to multiple people. I think an individual, what I'm saying is easy. You can, someone that's super mindful and focused, that's finding their way through the water, learning little tricks. And I'm talking like centimeters of hand position movement or
Mm,
engaging their bicep. Like you're not even moving anything different. You're just flexing it. Your hands in the
hmm.
same position, but all of a sudden you're like, hey, just me flexing that arm now is engaging these muscles. And it's
Mm,
hard to have someone know that without feeling it themselves. Or maybe their muscles or their neurons fire a different way to activate something to engage it, to then find leverage in it, and they need time to do it. They just need to work it out themselves, just being in the water. But the group setting, I don't know how you do that. How do you get people to be so mindful? And some athletes that don't have it, some people don't have the ability to have a hyper focus on their stroke to get the value out of the small yardage. So do you just have to swim laps back and forth for them to figure out those little tips and tricks? So for me individually, if I was coaching just myself, man, I would just do more race pace, a lot more power, just work on connection, um, explosiveness, no more full squats. I do quarter squats. They're showing that increases vertical athleticism. I'd yeah, I wouldn't be destroying muscle parts that I'm not using.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you there, man. Listen, the other thing that is fascinating about you is you are a individual Olympic champion, and I have tried to spend time analyzing people like you and understanding people like you because ultimately I was in a position where for a very short amount of time my life could have gone in that direction and it didn't, right? Like, so I was in an Olympic final and I never became an Olympic champion, and I'm completely okay with that. But I like to look at the people that were in the similar position and do become Olympic champions. And to me, there is something that separates those types of people from everybody else. And I want to get your perspective on yourself, maybe. But in that moment when you were presented with the chance to become an Olympic champion, what did you do that enabled you to kind of take that step forward across the line?
Good question. And to be very honest, I was nervous. I had built so much pressure on myself that it wasn't what it should have been. I think I should have enjoyed the moment, the opportunity, and try to be more present. Um, but what I did is I thought about all the people watching, all the people that have invested in me, and how I need to make them proud. My country, my teammates, my family, my coaches, and I just felt a lot of weight. And so I was kind of just praying that I could win. It wasn't a full confidence thing, and I don't know if I since I was very young, and I told you how I wanted people almost to have a lead to
Mm.
catch up, I kind of lost that somewhere in the professional swimming, maybe just being, beaten too many times, or not always having success in all my swims. Um, but yeah, I would love to say that I just, knew I was going to win, and I had confidence, and I didn't. I was nervous, and what I think I was fortunate is that I had a race plan that I could put my focus on. And it's, when you rehearse something so many times, even in a super distracting situation, you can remember it. And luckily, that was my swimming. I rehearsed it so many times that even though I was super nervous, I was able to execute the race plan and had confidence that I could do that. And that's how I was going to win. So in my particular race, um, I was not winning at the 50, but I did have confidence that I was going to finish that race hard. And I think that's, if I didn't focus on that race plan, if I didn't have that ingrained in me, I would have gone on too fast and I would have died, and I wouldn't have won.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? You talk about nervousness, which I think we all get, and that's great to acknowledge as well. Like we talk to kids all the time and say, look, even the best of us get nervous. Like that's normal. But there was clearly some point then. It wasn't the whole race where you were thinking, I've got to win for my country. I've got to satisfy this person.
No,
I've got to do that.
no.
You know, it was definitely a moment in time, and I'm sure it was during the warm up. It may have been in the ready room, but at some point you went back to what you knew, which made you comfortable, which gave you confidence, which was your race plan. So it must have clicked at some point to say, hey, bring it back to what I know.
You pretty much just said my spiel. No, I did. It was that's all part of it, right? Is the routine. Um, and so, yeah, the ready room, I was more nervous than a normal ready room by far. But yeah, just having that race plan every time, or even routine every time, gives you confidence, or it's comfortable. That routine, you're doing it, you know how to do it, you know how it feels, and that comfort gives you confidence, and confidence helps fight that anxiety and that nervousness. And that goes back to so much more than even just the warm up. It's just, drinking your pre-workout, your systems, like, the Pavlov dogs, like once you have pre-workout, your body knows it's about to go. Your body's responding without you even having to use your brain a certain way. Doing a routine that you are very comfortable with does give you that confidence that fights that anxiety. And one of my main things is I'm nervous and I'm thinking, try to smile. Smiling reduces anxiety. There's helps, the happy chemicals flow. Then whenever I put my goggles on, that's when I kind of was fine. I'd wave and I put my goggles on. In this case, I think I had my goggles on really early, trying to get to that happy place. But that's my filter, and I just would envision the perfect race. I'd listen to the starter to make sure I could hear the cues, but when they're still announcing names, I would just imagine the perfect start, entering the water perfectly, and the perfect breakout. And I just kept picturing the major points of my race that could mess up, and just think about them, and thinking about finishing to the wall with speed and with lots of energy in my legs. And that definitely, there's certain points. And then when you're right, this is all pre, and then when you're racing, it's racing. And I was nervous because of the gravity of it, but I also had raced so many times. I was, confident in that process and that routine. And you're exactly right. That confidence, or that comfort, gives you confidence, and the confidence fights that anxiety, which is, man, I literally peed on the blocks when I was a youngster. I was so nervous before a relay. It was horrible. I was like, oh gosh.
I
But
threw up in the warm-up pool at the Olympics. I was so nervous. So I understand that.
yeah.
Yeah. Nerves that, hey, you can't escape it, right? Like, because you just, like, this is the Olympics. And for a swimmer, it happens once every 4 years. Now, I'm watching football on the weekend. The guy drops a pass and he's able to line back up and catch the next one. Like, in swimming, you got one shot at that thing. Like, that gun goes off and you start wandering with your mind, and you're in trouble, right? That's over.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. I got to keep the focus.
yeah. Now you put yourself in there with the greats, the American greats. America has been known especially in backstroke, to have these legends. You know, you put yourself in there with Kraselberg and Pearsall and yourself, and then you've got Ryan Murphy as well, and Nick Thoman's there, and you've got who finished second to you in 12? Or was it at the World
No,
Championships?
that was Thoman. But now you got Hunter Armstrong. He's
Oh
doing
yeah,
great.
Hunter Armstrong's there. He's a legend. So it's like this lineage
Plummer.
of American backstroke. Yeah, Plummer as well. Yeah, that's the one. So my God, just the backstrokers that have come from this country. Why backstroke, you think?
Oh, I do. You know, you're not going to like it as an Aussie. No, it's legs. Backstrokes, you have so much pressure on both sides of your legs that you got to be like the best backstrokers that do freestyle are all pretty leg driven freestylers. And I think I think we do a lot of kicking in the United States. I think we've always just done yeah. And I think that's it. I think we're all just great kickers, and that's backstroke has a lot of that's what goes down first. And once your kick goes in backstroke, you have that foundation is not there to use your core, and you're just sinking. You're not doing it. Where I think other strokes you can get away. I've loved when I dabble in butterfly and breaststroke. I actually really enjoy those strokes because it's not the same pain as freestyle and backstroke. You know, freestyle and backstroke, you literally can black out from the effort. From the lactate, but breaststroke and butterfly, your muscles just stop working. It's like lifting weights. Like it's not the same. It hurts, sure, but not that deep pain that lasts and you can't see and you have massive headaches afterwards because you're going this oxygen debt because your big muscles or legs are able to use it all. I kind of wish I did it again. I do breaststroke for sure. But I think, if I had to say the U.S. does a lot of kicking to develop that, and backstroke's a kick dominant stroke, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
What was it like for you to be part of teams in 08 and 12 and, you know, being around legends like Phelps? Like I was very fortunate, and I tell people this all the time, that I got to travel the world with Ian Thorpe and Grant Hackett and Susie O'Neill and people that are just legendary in the sport. And it rubbed off on me so much just being around people like that. Do you feel similar in terms of what you had in the US?
Yeah. And Phelps is just, I mean, he's so good. It irritates me. He took away what a gold medal means. People's like, oh, this guy has over 20. It must not be that hard to win one. I'm like, he just was so good and so focused when it came down to it. And if you were to ask him about his anxiety before races, or I think he would have a completely different answer. I think he was good at racing angry and good at getting the mindset that he needed to win each time, and just an uber competitor that's willing to do anything for it. In terms of rubbing off on me, that would have to be Nathan Adrian. He was a very focused swimmer, and I liked the way he organized his brain for competition, how he prepped for it in food and sleep and still fun and focus. And I feel like he probably developed that Cal team to where they are today. I think a lot of Nathan Adrianisms are still there. I think just the way he was particular about certain things that he had control over, but then if he didn't, he would let it go. I think he put energy in the right place. And I learned a lot from him, even though he's younger than me by a little bit. He definitely had something that I thought would look good. I liked the way he operated, and I wanted to be like that. And so I think over the years, I kind of was able to train with him over Christmas training in Colorado Springs and the Cal team, and definitely even his stroke, when I swam with him for long enough, I was kind of like a chameleon that way. I'd keep watching him underwater and start developing a Nathan stroke, and it felt good. But just, the way he approached life and swimming definitely rubbed off on me. Michael, we didn't have that close of a connection where he probably could have as much, and also thought the way he did things might not have been worth it to me. I think how much he put into it, he raced angry. He was not that he's an angry guy, but that's how he found success. And he was willing to probably sacrifice more than I wanted to in some ways. And that it was amazing to see and witness, but not necessarily something I wanted to rub off on me too much. I kind of like the more balanced, happier outlook.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying for sure. I mean, I got to witness both you and Michael from a distance, and you had different ways of going about it for the same result. But not to say one's better than the other, but it's just the way that you both handle it, and it worked for both of you. But it was certainly a dominating team with the way that you were swimming, and Nathan, and the way he was handling business, and then everybody who was associated with the US team, 08, 12, I mean, and even years before that, right? So it's like this legacy. I feel like in some respects there's I don't even know how to put this exactly, but it doesn't have the dominance. I didn't feel the US dominance that when you guys walked on the deck, when Mac Grevers walked on the deck, and I'm seeing this 6'8" dude with American jacket and cap, and I'm like, oh man, that's Captain America. You know what I mean? Like that's cool as hell. Like, and I'm not saying that there's just that persona, just that the way that the US team is perceived these days has changed slightly. Do you get a sense for that?
Yeah, without being on the team, I can't be positive, but I think we did build that confidence off each other. And, having Michael Phelps in your ready room felt pretty good. This guy found ways to win no matter what. And Nathan, just a confidence again in his routine. He was so confident in his routine that he would be nervous too, but I think we all radiated self-confidence, and because we had so much trust in each other that everyone was going to get the job done. It was kind of fun. The relay ready rooms are way easier than individual for me, and I think they could feel that I knew they were going to do a great job, and that we all built each other up. Like, okay, Matt's having a great meet. He's going to get us out to lead. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get you out of lead, and then you're going to do a great breaststroke and do a great freestyle leg. And we just I think we were. It's easy to say because we're also kind of ahead of the world at that point in swimming. Right. We had been, but now the world has caught up to the US. Certainly, there's just so much information. People like you are sharing this, all the good stuff.
Sorry, I apologize.
And making it accessible. But no, it's awesome too, getting to learn on your podcast what a little bit of what Cam's doing and how he's developing himself as a sprinter now, and kind of getting to know that process. So I think it's going to be great for the US, who kind of has well, I don't know if it's different or not, but we're a shared. I love the sprint revolution is what I'm trying to get at, is this idea of just sharing what works with each other. It's kind of new, I think, in swimming. YouTube's been around and people can get some idea of how to do things, but when you're really looking for the minutia, the little tiny changes, or even big thought changes, it's hard to have confidence in that or to test it out unless someone else has found success in it. And so this communication of ideas and showing examples of success is going to give people the courage to try coaching that they believe in, that has, everyone wants it to be a proven process, and you sharing the processes that are working and giving people confidence to try new things. And it is going to revolutionize the sport. And I think that means it's going to even out. There's no ton of information just in the US now. College swimming is an advantage, but we have the world swim with us. It's not just the US.
No, I appreciate you saying that, man. And that perspective I really like too. Like that's the way I see it. Sometimes I get the feeling that I'm looked at as a spy in America, and then sometimes when I go back to Australia just recently, I feel like I'm looked at as a spy there. I'm like, I'm not trying to spy on anyone. I'm not trying to give away anyone's secrets. I'm trying to make swimming better. I'm trying to make it more accessible. I want people to know Mac Grevers' story. I mean, what a cool story, man. You got this incredible life story that we can share with the world. And that's the way I just want to celebrate good stories. I want to celebrate good people. and the successes they've had. And that means I'm going to talk to Americans, I'm going to talk to Australians, and everybody gets a chance to kind of make everybody better. And then at the end of the day, it's always going to be the best man wins, right? Like whoever gets up and gets the job done. So I'm not trying to spy on anybody. I'm just trying to make everybody better, you know?
Absolutely. And the things that like Cam are doing, that's a hyper focus. Not many people could probably do it the same way. So what works for him
Right.
isn't going to work for most people, but
Right.
you are probably developing the knowledge now to understand how to make it work for most people.
Yeah.
And getting that information. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
The sport's gonna, like, no one wants to commit that much time in swimming that much yardage anymore. Like, if you can do it a better way,
right,
I think it's going to increase participation, increase viewership, and just make the sport bigger and better, being able to find that more efficient way to go through it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well, listen, you've still got some attachments to the swimming world. You said you're in business with Rick Demont, correct?
Yeah, so we are partnered in SwimSchool. Rick and his wife Carrie, and I actually work with Carrie a lot more. Rick has great ideas. He's our simplifier. So when we overcomplicate things, he comes in and just like, no, just do this, which is great for us. But so I get to see him once a week in our owner meetings, and yeah, it's really cool. Just I get in. I was an instructor. I had my own schedule shifts for a while, and just working with kids and seeing how they float in different body types and densities. And yeah, it's amazing seeing at that level how different body types can move through the water. And we're talking like they learn some freestyle, and they would learn all 4 strokes by the end. But it's really cool to see it at that level and see the kids that really want to win and get competitive about it. I have my medal on the wall, and when they graduate, we unlock it and they put it around their neck, and they get to wear it and feel it. And that was a big thing for me. I remember holding on to Josh Davis's medals early on, and then Lee Lovelace, now Lee Maurer's medals, and just having something physical, material in your hand made it real and made it that goal more real instead of just an abstract thought or something that truly a dream, not an actual goal. That physical medal came a huge way. So being able to put that around the kids' necks and let them dream to be there and get their own medal is pretty special. So we're trying to expand. We're trying to build a second location now, but the first one's going great.
What's the name of the first, and where can they find it? Because like, if I've got a kid and I'm in the area and Matt Grevers and Rick Demont have a swim school, my kids are going to that swim school. Where's it at?
Demont Family Swim School. Okay. And they actually started in 2009. So it's I recently partnered up with hopes to expand to more locations. But nice. They do a great job. Carrie's developed an incredible curriculum. I've done probably similar to you, like lifeguarding. I did my own lessons my whole life, and seeing what they put together, it's really good stuff. It's
what
awesome.
suburb is it in?
It's in Tucson. It's northwest Tucson.
Okay, cool. Now you've also got some other associations. There's been a lot of people that have supported you throughout your career. Have you held on to some of those supporters? I know that Magic 5, you do some work with them as well, right?
Yeah. At the end of my career, they had a goggle, and for backstroke, that goggles are hard because you look out your sides. Exactly. The peripheral is super important for me to not have my head position be too messed up. So they have a great peripheral that it's custom goggles. So they laser, you have an app and you scan your face, and then they customize these goggles to fit the exact shape of your eyes. And man, that's huge. I talked about Bob earlier, and I lost my goggles Big Tens. Man, I don't remember what, like the Hunter Free, and he was so mad at me. And it's just a nice thing not to worry about behind the blocks of your goggles malfunctioning. Just to have confidence and one less thing to distract you, and just to focus on your routine is a huge thing. So they have a great product. I'm not like invested with them just because I was so impressed by what they offer. So yeah, the Magic 5, just great goggles.
Right. I love it, man. Well, good stuff. Well, Big fan of yours. Got to work with you a little bit when the whole, professional swim league was going on. And like I said, just the way that people looked at you and revered you and just listened to you, you could tell that you were an impact player. People cared about what you said, and that's a big deal in swimming, man. When you can have that type of legacy and lasting impact that the people around you want to be with you, they want to be teammates with you. That says something about you too. So but yeah, man, a killer as well. You got a nice smile, but there's a killer back there too.
He's deep in there. No, thank you, Brett. That you're speaking my love language there. That's where I think I get the greatest fulfillment is positive impact on people. So thank you for sharing that. And recently was at Golden Goggles, and Ryan Murphy said some nice things about me, and it's super special to know that you made a positive impact. And so I just want to return that and say you're doing an awesome job here. Keep it up. Love that I can be a part of it, but listening through your different podcasts, learning a lot, and just some of the stories are truly amazing, and just getting to hear everyone's background, personal little things is pretty cool to get a sneak peek in that you wouldn't really think to look up. So I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I hope the sprint revolution takes over, because I'm in.
I do too. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brett.
All right, see you.